Thank you very much. We're at the Durban City Hall where the march ended. The march in March came to the City Hall because they marched in March, but their memorandum was there was no response from the city, from the Department of Labor, from the Department of Police in the country. They complain about the illegal foreign nationals that are working and operating shops in the CBD. Let's speak to the residents. Ukuthi sicela usiphi igama nesibongo bese sichazele nje afushane ukuthi ube ikungani uyingxenye yale march.
Igama ngoNdumisa ngoDlamini Sibongo kahle kahle ngisuka le eMaritzburg njengoba ngizo-attend imarch la eThekwini. So ikhalazo zethu seziningi kakhulu ngabantu bokufika balana abagcwele la eThekwini nemisebenzi ayikho sixakekile sihlele ama-drugs sibona yonke into nje eyenzekayo la eSouth Africa ezweni lethu abantu bokufika asisebenzi njengoba ubonile ade kugcwele la bonke labantu ade bekhona bonke labantu abasebenzi imisebenzi ithathwa yibona endaweni eningi kusebenza bona. So sicela ukuthi uhulumeni ayisukumele lento abe nathi akwazi kulwa nathi hayi ukuthi masikhalaza sathunyelelwa kuthiwa sihlale phansi ngoba asikwazi ukusizakala ekugcineni. So nasemalokishini kuyinto efanayo ibona futhi labantu abasidayiselayo ingane zashona ngala nangala sicela ukuthi sisukumele sibambisaneni seyabantu bala eSouth Africa.
Siyabonga kakhulu.
Ngiyabonga nami.
He's telling us that he's coming from Pietermaritzburg. He wanted to join this march because the foreign nationals are all over in this country operating tuck shops and they allegedly selling drugs to young people, and so that is why he wanted to join hands with this march in March to make sure that his voice is also heard. I'll just also speak to someone who's also from basically was marching today. Ma'am, thank you very much for your time. If you can just give us your name and where you're coming from.
My name is Teresa and I'm representing the Patriotic Alliance.
Teresa, briefly about this march. Why did you guys participate in this march specifically?
We as the Patriotic Alliance, according to our manifesto, we believe that undocumented foreigners should not be in South Africa.
So what we just witnessed there, it isn't, just a march, but it's a symptom in itself, and a symptom, it's like this is something deeper brewing in the streets of South Africa. It's a growing frustration that is slowly turning into an organized resistance, because at the deeper core of this issue is that most of these South Africans are unemployed. And at the same time, they are seeing these illegal immigrants continuously coming into South Africa and continuously getting these jobs. And not only getting these jobs, but also being preferred by these employers at factories, etc., throughout South Africa. But one thing that I've also been seeing is that most of these marches are actually like occurring in KZN in itself. But this isn't just about undocumented foreigners. It's also about the failure of the state to regulate, its borders, managing migration properly, and protecting vulnerable communities from being exploited by mostly these guys that are employing the undocumented foreigners. So what was more telling, was that this march, it wasn't being driven by a single political party. It had grassroots, anger, and also so many parties were there. The Patriotic Alliance was there, and so many other people were there too, were marching in that march that actually ended up in Durban. So you can see that people are no longer waiting for formal debates or commissions, which is definitely not a good thing, So these people are taking their frustrations straight to city halls and demanding action in front of cameras, because you see, the situation should definitely not get to this situation, but this is where we are now. So that is it about this issue. Honestly, as things stand, it turns out, that there is no solution to this issue. I tried to give some solutions in one of my videos, but there seems to be no solution to this. Even Prince Mashele actually sort of like touched on this issue and said, you know what, These guys, all these Zimbabweans that are all over here, they are now South Africans, and there's nothing we can do about it. That's the kind of approach that Prince Mashele placed on the table to say, you know what, all these guys, they are now South Africans because they are not going back to their home countries. And it's true, once they are all here, they are no longer going back. And I think it's also one of the reasons why, I think it's Julius Malema who actually called for these guys to actually be documented because they are already here and they are already getting like basic services like health, education. So to think that they are not a part of South Africa, it's just being naive. And the best solution is to like find a way to work with these guys. So that's the solution basically, to just accept that, okay, we are surrounded by these countries that are in chaos right now, and all these people are coming from those countries and coming to us. But obviously, does it mean that Home Affairs and the border control or the border management authorities should not do their job and simply document these guys? It doesn't mean that, because once you just say, okay, come, we have now accepted the situation for what it is, it ends up becoming really chaotic. So that solution to say, let's document these guys, that's where now it becomes problematic, because once you document those who are already here, okay, fine. Those who are at Mozambique and Zimbabwe who hear that, oh, there are some of us there who are being documented. Those people will rush and go to South Africa to get documented there, because who doesn't want to get documented in South Africa? So that's the challenge. That's the challenge that is posed, that comes with that solution of documenting these guys. So that is that. In other news, I'm also seeing, letters flying on social media, left, right, and center. It's letter after letter, at MK Party. And this time around, it's a letter from John Hlope. There's something about MK when it comes to letters. Their letters, they always leak. I just don't know how they do it or why they do that. Their letters, they always leak from time to time, and then they get confirmed later on that that letter is actually official. So this time around, the chief whip of MK Party, Colin Makubele, is actually being accused of being Floyd Shivambu's agent. These are sort of like the accusations that were thrown out there with regards to Floyd Shivambu that led to his dismissal. There were these allegations of witchcraft, etc., etc. False accusations, really. We are seeing that now, that those accusations were not true. And they seem to be playing the same chase game when it comes to Colin Makubele and saying that she is Floyd Shivambu's agent, and they are calling for her to be removed as the chief whip. If they remove her based on those allegations, we are going to see again, obviously, later on, that whatever they were saying, about Colin Makwele was just not true. So that's the issue and challenge that is going on at MK. There seems to be somebody pulling the strings from behind the scenes. And the first person that is always accused to be doing that is always Duduzile Zuma. So there is one funny thing about John Hlope and this letter that leaked. This guy, John Hlope, actually thinks that Jacob Zuma is going to side with him. That is not going to happen. I don't know what John Hlope is thinking. So you see, one of the big problems with MK Party is that it brought in different members from outside parties, like especially the EFF, and gave them senior roles. The strategy by Jacob Zuma there was to try and cause chaos at those parties. But unfortunately, that strategy is backfiring. With the hindsight, Jacob Zuma should have built from the ground up and stuck with the people that were there with MK from the start. Gayton McKenzie, that's one of the good things that he actually did with the Patriotic Alliance. And his party is really stable, no matter how much, people can hate on Gayton McKenzie, but his party is definitely stable. It's because he built from the ground up. When you bring in outsiders and give them senior positions, there is always bound to be discontent within the people. So to get out of this situation, Jacob Zuma may need to do some rebuilding again, because I doubt he's going to discipline Duduzile Zuma. Obviously, everybody wants Zuma to do that, but he is definitely not going to do that. So guys, this is it about me. I'll catch you guys on the next one.